Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to talk about Joe Rogan. He seems to be on the minds and mouths of a lot of Americans. I don't know why. Well, let me begin by saying I like Joe Rogan. I grew up watching in the late 90s, early 2000s. He had this show called Fear Factor. He was just basically the host of the show. You know, you could say it was his show. And I liked the show. It was very intriguing. If you're under 30, you probably don't know what Fear Factor is, but it was like a show you did with your spouse. You went on there if you had a fear of spiders. It put you in a bucket of spiders or something, a barrel of spiders, and you had to get over your fear of spiders to stay in that bucket or whatever it was, a barrel, for longer than another couple that was doing a similar challenge with their fear. Very intriguing for me and my girlfriend, now wife, used to watch it all the time. Beyond that, I don't know much about Rogan. I know he did the UFC stuff. As someone that I would take advice from, and I know he has his podcast, which I didn't know was on Spotify. For some reason, I've only ever seen clips of his podcast on YouTube. Like if I Google like Dave Chappelle, I'll see like a Joe Rogan interviewing Dave Chappelle, kind of a thing. And based on what I've seen, I didn't come across as political. It didn't come across, Joe doesn't come across as preachy. I know sometimes he'll like have a host on there that might be preachy, that might say, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. But most of the times, Joe is like asking questions, and he's just basically having a regular, average Joe conversation with whoever his guest is on the show. And there's things that Joe knows a lot about, like the fighting, that kind of stuff he'll talk about. But beyond that, I don't really care about what he thinks. I'm not really, raising my kids in the principles of Joe Rogan. A lot of my friends who happen to also be Republicans and Trump supporters, big Trump supporters, love Joe Rogan, and they oftentimes would bring him up just to prove a point, like, oh look, this guy is saying this. And most of them don't even know who Joe Rogan is. That's the funny thing about it. They just know there's this guy who talks stuff in a show, right? And Joe Rogan, I mean, if you look at him, he does come across a bit like Trump supporter-ish, but I don't think he's political like on that scale. And I've never seen the clips I have seen of him on his podcast show. I didn't really know at the time it was a podcast. Now I do know. He's not political at all. But I know recently he was telling people to take like horse tranquilizers to treat COVID. Which the doctors were telling people don't do that shit, don't, just take the vaccine. It seems to be working. It's working for millions of people. Don't put shit in your body that belongs in a horse. Apparently, I guess there's a group of people that thought, oh my God, Joe's telling the truth, whatever. And that kind of, I don't know if that got him in hot water or not. And recently, this week it's come out, he had some podcast, not recent, but it might have been like a while back, where he had people on air, I'm assuming white people, saying racist terms. And I don't know much about it in far, but that is a thing that came out. And now people are painting Joe as racist, or inciting racism, which is even kind of worse in a way, because you kind of a coward hiding behind someone else. And I've seen that before, where a guy says, oh well, this person is saying it, so I could do a lot. Actually, it's funny, a lot of people did with Donald Trump, if you want to say that. Donald Trump said shit that white people that I work with, that love Trump, wouldn't say to me face to face, but because Trump started saying it, they're like, oh, maybe it's okay for me to say. No, it's not. So I think that kind of makes it kind of worse what Joe was doing. I don't really know the details of it, but today I was home, working from home, and Tucker Carlson, for some reason my YouTube algorithm thinks if I watch the weather, right, on YouTube from my local CBS or NBC weather, the next thing it continues playing stuff. It thinks all of a sudden I want to hear what Tucker Carlson has to say about Joe Rogan. I really didn't, but what Tucker was bringing up is very interesting. So I started, I was like, let me watch this. I looked at a little info below, and I saw millions of Americans already watched it. So I'm like, all right, let me see what shit he's feeding these people, because I know people love Tucker, and I've had stuff he said in his show come from people I work with, intelligent people I work with at the coffee machine in the morning. Oh, I've heard people saying there's ballots on the rocks and rivers and shit like that. You know, so I watched it, and Tucker Carlson is basically saying Joe Rogan is the savior of basically Fox News and Republican Party, because he's exposing the lies of the Biden administration and Jen Psaki in regards to COVID vaccinations, and how Joe is apparently more of a source than medical professionals on how to take a vaccine for a virus, right? And that's the thing I always tell my friends overseas, that we are a fucking country. America's a fucking country of kids, right? We love celebrities, right? If Beyonce wears something, earlier today I was listening to another show on Hot 97 where a guy started a business in the pandemic. I think it's called Butter or something, skincare products, and he was not selling a single jar of his cream. But I guess his family, he knows Beyonce's family or something like that. And Beyonce was, I don't know, some gathering. But Beyonce goes, oh, Carl, you got this thing? Let me tweet about it right quick. And Beyonce like tweeted about it. Beyonce didn't even use the shit. She just tweeted, oh, my cousin, my friend is have this thing. Why don't you guys check it out? He said went from selling like maybe 5 of these things a year to like 500 a day, something like that, something extreme. And that's the influence celebrities have on people, right? Beyonce don't know shit all about skincare, but she tweets about it, and all of a sudden this guy's, he's making money, has a business basically, right? He moved out of his garage, now he has a office on the top floor of some building. And that's what we live in. We live in a nation of fucking kids, where we look at celebrities as adults, as deities, as advice, and we don't look at teachers and doctors and lawyers and proper professional adults for advice, right? And that's what is getting Joe Rogan into trouble, that I think, as far as him as far as him exposing lies of Jen Psaki and Joe Biden or whatever, you know, in regards to COVID, nothing else, just regards to COVID. But if you watch Tucker Carlson, you think, oh my God, they're lying about every fucking thing, and Joe Rogan is gonna save us from these liars, you know. But I don't even watch Joe Rogan like that, but I've seen clips of him. When you Google a celebrity you like I Googled, I know Chappelle was on there, Dave Chappelle, and I watched a bit of that, and he had some other people that I kind of like. He had Neil deGrasse Tyson in there once, I believe, and I watched them sit and laugh about Trump lying over 4 years of Trump presidency, right? He had lots of shows about Trump lying, and then Trump coming out and saying, oh, well, you know, maybe I did it, but it's not so bad. Case in point, Stormy Daniels, Trump lied about that, right? Lied about it, right? And then he came clean and said, oh, you know, I did what I did. It's not that bad, you know. It's not that bad. I didn't kill anyone, right? There's no crime committed, right? Right? And that's how Trump lied to us, right? He'd lie about it, say he didn't know nothing about it. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do it. Then, oh, yeah, I did it. But, you know, it's not so bad. It's not, I didn't do a crime. It's nothing criminal about it. No one died, right? Right? And Tucker Carlson back then did not have Joe Rogan clips of Joe Rogan exposing Trump for all his lies. Trump lied about the weather. Trump lied about all types of shit. And Joe Rogan covered most of that. Not in a sense to bash Trump, but in a neutral sense, where Joe Rogan, I don't find him political. I don't find when he does his shows, from what I've seen, is not political in any sense. But Tucker Carlson didn't bring those clips up, right? But the one clip, it wasn't even, Joe Rogan wasn't even making a point to say she was lying. He's making a point to say, do your research, because look what she's saying. She's saying this thing has the gold standard approval vaccination thing, but then it's not approved gold standard, right? Maybe it's approved silver standard, right? But the point is, the lie was about the standard of approval of a vaccination thing, right? That's all it was. It wasn't a lie that said, oh, the vaccine is good, but the vaccine is bad, right? That's a proper lie that would kill people, that would hurt people, right? What Trump did in his lying, you know, what it's worth. You know, if you love Trump, it was okay. If you didn't like Trump, this guy was a liar. Me, I don't even care, but I don't like bullshit when I see bullshit, right? And Trump was 100% bullshit to me, right? And Americans, I think there's a part of Americans where they're so easy to scam, and Trump was the ultimate scam artist, right? Me, I hate scam artists. I hate bullies. It's one of the things I grew up always hating. I've gotten into fights with people bigger than me because they're bullying other people, right? Or bullying my friends, or bullying the group of people I hung out with, right? And that's the kind of kid I was growing up, right? To the point where no one messed with me, right? Because it's, oh, that's Olaf, he's crazy, right? My daughter's the same way. My daughter at summer camp last summer beat up a girl twice her size that was bullying other girls. At the time when the girl's bullying other girls, my daughter didn't care. That's her personality. She don't care. If it's not her business, she don't get involved. But the minute you get in my face, you getting your ass kicked. And then my daughter did that. My daughter was like 30 pounds. This girl was like 60 pounds. My daughter was 5 at the time, or 6 at the time. This girl was like 8, right? And that's me. That's who I am. That's why I don't like Donald Trump, right? And that's not me saying I didn't try to like him. I tried to like the guy. In fact, I liked Donald Trump when he was on TV in Apprentice, right? And anyway, let me go get my son. But that's my whole thing with Joe Rogan. I think it's just silly. I think it's just now I'm seeing all the people saying we're not going to support The Rock because The Rock is coming out to support Joe Rogan. My issue with The Rock is that I don't care. You can love who you want to love. But when and The Rock, I think he's one of those celebrities. He affiliates with black people and being African American. I think he tells his story and being half Samoan and all that stuff, or being a minority. And one of the people I follow on sports, European soccer, he came out and said, "Yo, I'm not following The Rock anymore because this is BS." He has passion for Joe Rogan. All of a sudden, but when Black Lives Matter was doing the thing last year, when people are getting killed by police, when black people are suffering different types of ways, you know, The Rock is nowhere to be seen. But all of a sudden, Joe Rogan is in trouble. Oh, I'm going to come and support Joe Rogan.